All right, well, this side lines up. Oh, I think it's a little bit off. Oh wait, no, it's not tightened yet. Hold on. Thanks for joining me this week. We got a lot to cover, so I'm gonna keep it down to a minimum of talking, at least for the intro. If you guys are looking how to set up your own mixing station, you're gonna see how I do that today. Not only that, you're gonna see the fish in the quarantine officially have babies, believe it or not. And we're also gonna show you guys the auto top off that came in from GHL. Stay tuned, because we got a ton of stuff to cover. I think today is a good day to mount these power supply mounts that I had made from a fellow friend on Instagram. His name is Fellow Reefer. He actually custom made these for me. With mounting these, he did some countersunk screws. You could see here the smaller ones have 4. The bigger ones have a total of 5 with one in the center. And they're also slotted, I don't know if you could see here, but so you could run a zip tie through the bottom of them to obviously strap them down. This way you can remove them. You can either run a zip tie or Velcro. In my way, I'm actually gonna do Velcro. So if ever I do wanna remove it, it's super simple. Attaching them is very easy. I got these countersunk screws. Now it's very important that these screws aren't too thick, because the last thing you want is them punching through the top. Obviously, since I don't have a tank on it, it's not a big deal, but if I had a tank, you do not wanna go through the top, punching through the glass, because it would not be a good day. Luckily these, it's just enough threads to go through the power supply mount bracket itself, and then has very few threads that actually protrude through the wood. So as far as mounting them, I have a total of 3 of them already mounted. These are for the XR30s. You can see there how they mount. We're gonna put the Vectra L2 one there, and then the front row here will be for all the MP40 ones. For those who question how comfortable mollies get in reef tanks, it's been 2 days. Look at that. Look, they're everywhere. They're even up here. There's one right there. But yep, those are babies.
A few moments later.
Since I am running the GHL control, I figured why not run their auto top off. It'll obviously sync nice. Everything will be in one spot, and it should be a lot easier. Less power supplies, should be a bit less cables, and everything should be nice and neat. I ended up going, they have opticals and they have float ones. The reason I did the float ones, one, I don't know, I feel a little bit more comfortable with floats. Not saying the other ones aren't good or anything, just that was my thought process. Not only that, this one takes up less real estate than the optical one. So I figured, you know what, let's keep everything nice and neat on the bottom. We have the low, the high, and then the whole mounting setup here. And that one is obviously gonna go in the return chamber, which is right here. It's gonna monitor my water level and keep it exactly where it needs to be to maintain a proper salinity. Got it fully mounted. You can see here the magnet mounts the acrylic rod, which it then has a mounting plate. You can see there. I'm actually missing one mounting plate, so I'm gonna have to get another one on the way. For the second float sensor, again, there's a low and the high, and but you can really see how it mounts there. I'm not gonna finalize the exact location. I'm obviously gonna get water in here first to see what the water level is. Luckily, the rod they provide you is really long, I guess, you know, for different setups. I'm gonna end up cutting it, but I'm not gonna do this until the tank is running and I'm happy with the high and the low that I've chosen, because again, they do give you more than enough acrylic rod if you do want to end up cutting it like I will. This week we'll be able to finally finalize at least the salt container. What I went ahead and did, this is actually the one that's starting to be glued. This one's going to go all the way on the bottom. And if you can see, I got 45 degrees on either end to obviously turn the water. Now, one thing I also did, I found this out by mocking up this one. I originally didn't want this touching the bottom of this. Why? Because these here would create barriers if the water's spinning. So then I was like, you know what, let me lift it. But as soon as you lift it, all the strain, all the pressure goes on this bulkhead itself and the plastic around it. So I figured, what would be a way I could set it on the base of the inside of the container, but it also be supported. So I said, you know what, get one of these T's, get a plug on the bottom, and then it can obviously be sitting there, it's suspended, so water can still circulate around it, and it shouldn't obstruct any flow. Also, good thing I mocked it up, because I quickly figured out that you have to assemble this from the bottom going up. If you assemble it from the top going down, from here to here, you're kind of screwed and you'll never be able to assemble it. Why? Because there's no way you're going to glue these joints here. you know, trying to reach your hand to the bottom of this container. So it's a good thing I mocked it up. I'm able to see the measurements, make sure I'm happy with everything. And also I was able to catch that I'm supposed to glue this in reverse, being from the bottom up. I think I'm happy with how it came out. You can see I ended up putting the union there. Honestly, I wasn't gonna do the union, but without the union, it would have been 10 times more difficult just because the heights you get, and when you put the glue, it sits in further. So I had to measure and remeasure. Everything's good. We got it all glued down. I'm really happy how it came out. And you can see I could actually move it, and look, it's not even dangling. It's fully resting down on the bottom. And if I do need to adjust this either right or left more, I have the union here. But from the looks of it, the spacing looks pretty even, so I'm happy with it. Next is going to be pumping the Seche 7.0 SDC pump to the salt mixing station, which is right here. I still don't have, like I've mentioned before, I still don't have the RODI container, but it doesn't matter. Why? Because no plumbing goes into that other than the drain. The only plumbing that attaches to that is a float valve coming from the RODI. It's not like we need to be recirculating the RODI water. So all the plumbing that's going to be happening is only going to be for the salt water. And obviously for that to happen, it needs to be connected to the pump here. So very quickly, in a nutshell, we have the pump, we have the valve. And the only reason there's a valve here is when I'm going to be pumping water from here into the into the tank, water is going to come out through here. There's a few valves here missing, but it's going to come out through here, in through this bad boy. And as soon as this is closed off, as it is here, instead of having it come up to recirculate back, it's actually going to be diverted to the rear, and there's going to be a hose reel here on the left side. There's also going to be a 5 micron sediment filter hidden back there, but from the hose reel, we'd obviously take it straight to the tank. So all I need to figure out now is how I'm going to connect it. I'm not going to be using this here. That's, you know, just for right now. But as soon as I get it figured out, as soon as I think about it, measure it up, I'll show you guys where we are. One of the first things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to determine that the height of the input, which is here, is the same height as the output on the tank. If it's not, in most cases it probably won't be. Use whatever size plywood, shim, whatever you want to use to raise it up so they're both on the same exact plane. If they're not in the right plane, it's going to cause stress on the unions themselves. Worst case scenario, it may even cause the input on your pump to fail or just excess wear on it, and that would not be a good thing. So what I did here, I figured out it was about 1/2 inch too low, so I raised it 1/2 inch using a piece of plywood that I cut. I then went ahead and screwed it down, because before you do start plumbing this, you don't want this thing moving around, because if it moves, it's going to mess up all your measurements on both the inputs and the outputs. So make sure you tighten it down so it's not going anywhere. Next, you want to position your tank exactly where it's going to be. In my scenario, I wanted it nice and flush to the side, but also I needed a gap to access the power here in the rear, as well as pass a 1-inch PVC through the back. So I made sure that there was enough spacing for that. I'm happy where it's at, and I have it positioned where it's going to stay. I went ahead and already cemented a union here on the top, because if ever I do need to service the tank, I want to be able to remove the union, lift up the tank, whether for cleaning, moving, whatever I need to do, I can easily do it with a union up here. I went ahead and also installed the elbow, or the T, I don't know what you want to call it, here on the bottom. I also put on the union right here. I could have put a union here to service it and remove it from this attachment. The reason I didn't do that, because if I put a union here, it's only going to make this thing stick out further. It's almost sticking out a little bit more than I'd like, so that's why I opted to, instead of doing it here, do the breakaway right here, and it's still more than enough to service it or do any maintenance on it. Once you do have that complete, there's different ways to plumb, there's different ways you can measure. I like to partially bring up the PVC till about yay high, as well as partially bring out the PVC coming over, because then here in the middle I can figure out the measurement with a tape measure or a ruler or whatever, so they both join up and they're not in awkward angles. Have the top part done, so this one's going to come over like this. So what I did, there's a union like I mentioned earlier to remove it from the tank, and then yet another union here to break it away as a smaller piece, as you see here. All there is to do now is recheck, make sure you did indeed glue everything. You can and then go to attach it. That should be good. Now you don't need to over tighten it yet because we're going to have to adjust this angle. That's also why I put the union here, because without the union here, the only way I could adjust this angle would be loosening the bulkhead here. So this allows me to pivot it in any way to have it hopefully line up with the output there. So I have the 1-inch union that's going to attach to the pump. Right there, it threads on. I also have a T here. This T, I put a plug on it for now, but this is actually going to be used. It may not make sense now, but wait till you see it later. This is going to pump water from the storage bin to the reel, the hose reel, to then go to the tank. And then on the opposite end there, I put the connection for the union that's going to be in the middle of both of these. So let's attach it here on the bottom. One thing that I learned that I thought I'd share with you guys that I didn't know before. Every PVC is different, so don't take this and run with it, but just you'll understand here where I'm going with it. This Schedule 80 by Spears, all of them have about a 1-inch offset that the PVC sits inside and grabs on. That's actually what's making contact with whatever fitting, whether an elbow, a union. So all of these have, it's about 1 1/8 roughly, but I measured 1 inch on all of them. Once you understand that measurement, you very simply take this measurement from here to here, whatever it is, add 1 inch to this side, and add 1 inch to that side. So in other words, you add 2 inches to whatever measurement you have. That's going to ensure that when you press fit these fully together, it should hopefully be the exact length you need. So let's see if that even worked for me. Oh, I think it, no. Oh, okay, good. I think it worked. Okay, so before I fully tighten that, okay, and you can see there it's clearly not lined up. So thankfully we install a union here. So we should be able to loosen this union. And now, look at that. We're able to pivot it exactly where we need. So here it should, there you go. And now when you are attaching this, you want to make sure there's no stress in either direction, that they fit very nice without much pressure. Given if your angles are off by a little bit, they kind of are a little bit flexible, so I wouldn't stress too much, but just make sure that if it is off by a little bit, it's not too crazy. So now that that piece is all said and done, I'm really happy with it. The angles seem pretty good. It's nice and sturdy. Next, we're gonna have to do the bottom portion. Now I went ahead and cut a small piece of wood. I've already taken the measurement to see, but you'll see a little bit later, this piece is going to be meant to support the piece coming out, just so it's not unsupported. There's a lot of weight that's going to be, if you don't support it, going on the input here. So I just wanted to alleviate that pressure, and that's why I cut the small little piece of wood. Next, we're going to have to attach from this union piece to that union, and obviously there's another T that goes here in the middle. So I've measured and remeasured. Let's hope this whole thing fits together. It's a big monster. It's already all glued, so if it doesn't fit, I'm kind of going to be screwed. But let's hope I did my measurements right and it should all line up, fingers crossed. All right, well, this side lines up. Oh, I think it's a little bit off. Oh, wait, no, it's not tightened yet. Hold on. Okay, so that's there. This one doesn't really matter yet. I pretty much just copied this side. Why? Because the tank's not here yet. So I still have flexibility on this portion of the PVC, which is why I went ahead and glued it. From the looks of it, you see that? It's right on. And you can see here the support. Without the support, watch what the PVC does. See how it dangles? Why? Because it's a lot of weight going here. So this piece of wood is supporting the PVC. And you see with the piece of wood now, it lines up perfectly. Bring this piece and fully tighten it. There, I think we're almost done. All there is to do now is finish off this end of it, as well as finish off the end that's going to go here towards the back. I'll show you guys what that looks here in a little bit. I ended up reducing this portion of it to 3/4 inch. So everything else is 1 inch. This is 3/4. One of the reasons I did it, as you guys saw earlier, I was not very happy how far this is extending out. So I figured if I go to a smaller size for the 45° and the true union, it shouldn't stick out as far, and it actually saved me a little bit of space. Not only that, this being a gravity drain, I figured a 3/4 inch is going to be more than enough flow coming out of it, so there's really no need to go with the 1 inch. If you want to go with the 1 inch, you totally can, but I really saw no need to. To save on the space, I did the 45° elbow here. I could have done it on this end and have this valve be coming straight out, but I noticed by doing this, I saved a little bit of space. So we went with the C-PEX, just like we did with the other ones, here for the drain. And then on the very end of it, I didn't glue this last piece, and I used the threaded insert they give you. So if ever I do want to change it out, I totally can. They do give a slip end as well. They actually give you a set of each, so you can totally put whichever one fits your needs. Let's get this back. There we go. Pretty happy with it. I did get the hose reel bracket already mounted. It's actually right over here. See, just this one is defective. I'm going to be returning this one. The new one should be arriving within the next few days. I'm going to need to replace the vinyl hose. Not only that, but I'm going to show you guys in the future a DIY video on how you can convert one of these automatic retractable hose reels to use for aquariums. As you guys know, the hoses that come with them, you cannot use them. They're not reef safe. If you do use them, there could be some pretty bad stuff you could be adding to your tank. So I'll show you guys in the future how we convert that. But that automatic hose reel, I already have the bracket. You can see it's going to come here, and it sticks out till about here. So the last piece to this puzzle is going to be the 5-micron sediment filter. A lot of guys actually don't run sediment filters coming out from your mixing station. I personally do. Why? You know, it doesn't hurt to have one, just to ensure that if there's any remnants of anything in here or just old salt that sits there or whatever the case is, it gets filtered out with this canister filter. I ordered this bad boy on Amazon. I actually went with the 3/4 inch input and output just to allow quite a bit of flow to be pushing through it, so this at least doesn't restrain too much flow going out to the tank. Now that the hose reel kind of is taking up all that real estate there, I figured this sediment filter is actually going to have to mount right here. So I'm missing the bracket for it. The bracket they sent me was not the right one, so I'm waiting for Amazon to get me the correct one. But this sediment filter is going to be mounted here. We're going to have another one of these 3/4 inch unions coming right out here where I can open and close it. And then from there, it's just going to be clear vinyl tubing, 3/4 inch to 3/4 inch, and then going from here directly into the hose reel in the back. Aside from that, again, I'm still missing the tank here, which is why you don't see this side complete, but this side is going to be a replica of this. Since the RODI water doesn't need to be mixed, we're not going to have to redo another one of these, so it's just going to be the bottom set that gets complete. So I will say this is my first time ever doing a mixing station. I had never in my life done one, not even attempted to do one. And I'll be honest with you, it's not that difficult to do. It took me probably an hour to fully get it done. The outside was super easy. It was a little bit more time consuming when doing the inside of the tank for obvious reasons. It's very hard to get in there. But as far as the outside's concerned, it was super easy. A big lifesaver and a big recommendation I'm gonna give you guys is use unions as much as you can, especially where you need to adjust angles. Also, these true union ball valves make your job that much easier, because not only is it a ball valve, but it also doubles as unions on both ends. So if you ever need to service it or need to mess with the angles, you can totally do so. Believe it or not, this union wasn't supposed to be here. This was actually a mistake I made. And I figured to correct that mistake, I added the union, and look, it didn't mess up the look that bad. Before we do wrap the video up, I think you guys want to see this thing in action. So I have it fully filled with water. I think the water is about here, holds about 55 gallons of water. There's no salt in there, just RODI water. The reason for that, if you guys are setting one of these up, you're going to notice they have a very strong chemical smell. I don't know if it's a chemical or not. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to fill it up 2 times, then drain it, probably water my plants before I actually start making water with it. I'm not sure if you have to do this, but you know, I don't think it's going to hurt. Here's the controller for the Syncra 7.0. Now it comes with an app on your phone, so you can control it on your phone, or you can just use a controller. So I'm quickly press this to unlock it. Make sure my valves are open. So these 2 valves need to be open when I'm going to be mixing the water within the tank. If I'm looking to fill up the aquarium, I would shut this valve. That one would stay open, and then it would divert water back here to the sediment filter and then to the hose reel. And when it comes to filling water from the RODI bin that's going to be here, I would open this valve here, I would close this valve, open this one, and then it would pump water from this tank all the way up into this tank till it fills. And then once we're done, we would just close this one off and that one would be complete. So let's make sure all our valves are open for circulation. We hold this down. There we go, full power. There it is. So let's open it up. It's gonna be a little bit hard to see inside the tank, but let me get you guys a flashlight. So I know it's a little bit hard to see down there. You can see I actually modified the outputs on the bottom. I used two 45-degree angles on either end. I just felt this way gave me a lot better flow. Now this tank itself is 47, almost 50 inches all the way to the top. And you can clearly see it is for sure moving the water even on top. So guys, we're gonna end this video here. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. More importantly, I hope this gave you guys an idea. Maybe if you've been thinking of making your own mixing station, you see that it really isn't that difficult. You don't have to go with the expensive fittings and PVC I went with. You can totally go with Home Depot, Lowe's, PVC and fittings and save yourself quite a bit of money. Same with the containers. You don't need to use these containers. You can totally use Brute ones. Hopefully this gave you some ideas on how you can make your own mixing station at home. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys stayed to the very end, let me know down in the comment box below. Also, let me know what you guys think of the mixing station, and I'd love to hear of the mixing stations you've made, or maybe some inputs on how you think I can make mine better down the road. So thank you guys very much for joining in. I thank each and every one of you very much for watching. As always, happy reefing.